Don't stop.
Hi, thanks for joining me on the Everything and Anything in a Bit Gay podcast. I'm Zach Randles-Friedman, and I have this guest today I will say he is one of my top 2 favorite guests that I've interviewed. And I'm going to tell you about him in just a minute, but before I get into that, I want to talk about how my podcast has become something I didn't think it would become. So I have 2 podcasts. I have this one, Everything and Anything and a Bit Gay. And I wish that I would have made the name shorter whenever I was making this podcast because it's such a long name. I thought about changing it, but I'm not going to. And then the other thing is I have a Listen Up Girl podcast, which is LGBTQ plus news, and I'm doing it 7 days a week since I'm doing podcasting full time. And yeah, I probably would have named that something different too, but I don't know. They're not changing. People know the names, and I've done the logos 5,000 times and the branding over, and I'm not doing anything more with the branding for a long time. But I never kind of thought like I would be that LGBTQ plus spokesperson almost. That's what I can call myself, because I get these email pitches, which I just went through some of them today, and it's like, oh, you have a great gay podcast. You have a great transgender LGBTQ community podcast. And I never thought like I would be that person representing the LGBTQ plus community. But here I am. I'm one of the spokespeople for our community if you're part of the LGBTQ plus community. I thought about doing another podcast that has nothing to do with LGBTQ plus, but this is my world, I guess. I'm not, like, everything I do every day is not gay or part of the LGBTQ plus community unless I'm doing my podcast work. But I don't know. I never really I just never thought I would be that person where I'm talking about gay issues and talking about news that's LGBTQ plus and doing things to support transgender people. That was never what I had on my bingo card. And here I am. And yeah, I'm happy with it. Sometimes I think, is there something I want to do differently or do more of? And maybe I just overthink things too much, but that's how it is. But let's talk about my guest. So this is why this guest, his name is Stefan. And the reason why, I think I called him Stefan whenever I first went on. I don't know why I said his name that way. And I don't even know if I'm saying it right now. But let me just tell you about Stefan or Stefan. I think I was maybe interviewing somebody prior to him who was in Europe. Is that why I call him Stefan? I don't know. There was a reason. I don't know why I said it. Like I said, oh, welcome, Stefan. And he didn't say, that's not how you say my name. So I should have asked. I try to ask my guests sometimes, how do you say your name? Even if it's Steve. Because some people could say it's Steve. Or like, I don't know. They could just make up some shit. But anyway, Stefan or Stefan is his name. Second favorite guest I've ever interviewed. I completely 100% forgot we were on a podcast talking. I feel like I was talking to somebody on FaceTime that was my friend forever. And he is so fucking interesting. Like, there's just something about him that drew me into who he is and his stories and the way his reaction. And he's just a caring person. And I don't want to tell you anything about the interview because I want you to listen to it all, because he goes really deep on something personal that happened in his life. And I appreciate him. I'll just kind of say we talk about religion, about what does he believe in now because of something that happened in his life. And yeah, he's a fantastic person. That's just what I'll call. Like, there's some people I interview, I'm like, oh yeah, that was great. If I don't hear from him again, that's okay. But this guy's somebody like I feel like I have to like meet and be friends with at some point. Like I think he lives on the West Coast, maybe he lives in California and LA because he does movies. He's got a movie coming out that's going through all the film festivals now with Kit Connor. And I don't know, he's just a brilliant, amazing guy. And I just appreciate him so much. So now I've talked him up so much, I want you to listen to the interview and leave a comment and tell me what you think about the interview and what you think about him. Because the guy that I have somebody that edits my podcast, and he kept texting me saying, "This guy's fantastic. Like I'm hanging on every word he's saying." And that's just, I wish every interview that I did was like this. So enjoy my interview. Go see his movie. Like whenever it comes out, you have to see it because I think it's going to be amazing. So thanks for listening, and I'll be back tomorrow. Bye. Hi, thanks so much for joining me on the Everything and Anything in a Bit Gay podcast. I'm your host, Zach Randall-Friedman. Today, I have a brand new guest who you have not met. He is an amazing storyteller. He is working with somebody who I really have watched his career grow, and I think he's actually kind of hot. And I never thought I would think a redheaded guy like him was hot, but I do. I think he's really hot, and I think he's talented. So welcome to the show, Stefan.
Thank you so much. I know you're not talking about me. I'm not redheaded, nor am I the hot one, but I can understand why you feel that way.
Yes. So we're talking about Kit Connor. We'll get into Kit Connor in a little bit, but I have watched him since he was on Netflix, I believe. And was it on Netflix or
Yeah,
HBO? Yeah, Netflix. Yeah,
yeah, it
and
was Netflix. Yeah.
yeah, and I loved that show, and I loved him. And then I've kind of followed his career and followed him on Instagram and stuff. But we'll talk about him later. So I want to talk about you first.
Okay.
So
Sure.
tell me, you started. You're a filmmaker. You had a movie that was on HBO Max, which is like pretty fucking amazing. I mean, that's amazing to get a show on HBO Max. So tell me how you kind of got started in your career of making films.
I mean, like officially, it was when I was a little kid. I stole my parents' camcorder and, started making videos around the house. And I guess technically speaking, you could say that I was a filmmaker from then. But I got into advertising for a long time as a more, I, I guess, responsible way of still being around a camera and being on
Mm.
set. Until I kind of woke up one day and was like, I need to make a film. I didn't even want to make a short film. I wanted to make a feature film. That's what I always had dreamed of doing. And so, yeah, that's why I made Simmer. Just got the gang of friends together and we went and did it.
Yeah, so you did it on a low budget. You got it out there. Did you ever expect it to get picked up by HBO Max?
Um, I don't even know that I'm like somebody who necessarily believes in manifesting.
Yeah,
Jury's still out, but I think that we had told ourselves that that would be a really, really incredible outcome.
yeah,
There was probably a lot of naivete in that, a dream, because honestly, like I think most indie films that are made for less than 100K don't get to HBO. But by literally, it really was kind of a fluke that got us there. But we did get there, and so I don't know that we would say that we thought we would, but we always dreamt of it.
yeah. I mean, that's an amazing dream. I mean, as you were filming it with your friends and kind of creating this project, were there moments where you're just like, okay, this is something good. This is something that, like, did it go? Was it beyond your expectations in some ways? Where you're like, I mean, I guess I just think about things like projects I do with my friends sometimes. I'm just like, okay, yeah, this could be
Yeah.
something. Even this podcast, like when I first started, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing this as fun. I'm never gonna like whatever. We'll see what happens. I never thought I'd make money. I never thought I'd quit my corporate job to do a podcast. That's first of all. Like I never thought that would
Mm,
happen. And so, but then there's a
mm,
moment that happened where I was just like, yeah, God, I can't do both. Like I got to pick, and this is what
mm.
like I want to do. I mean, was that the moment? Was there a moment when you were kind of doing this project with your friends? You're just like, oh, this is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life.
That's a really good question. Because I think that it was starting to awaken to that idea. I don't know that it was the first film. I would say that it was more the second film where I realized that I was going to do it for the rest of my life, or that I could do it for the rest of my life. I think the first film was just like, I don't even know if we're going to make it to the finish line. I know that I would like to continue to do this forever, but I don't know how viable that is. And and there were some dark days. Like when you're studying any creative endeavor,
Yeah.
the amount that you think you can do and what you're actually capable of doing, there's like a really big chasm. And that's what makes you better is that you observe that you're not who you want to be yet. And so you
Yeah.
continue to strive and grow or whatever. But there was a lot of days where it was like sleepless nights where it's just like, this is not going to work. Uh, I think I had a lot more doubt then than I do now.
Yeah. So do you feel, you must feel confident. I mean, everybody wants Kit Connor now. Everybody knows who he is. Does that make you feel kind of like more confident about your future and what you want to do in the future?
I think so. I think that like having worked with somebody of his caliber and having felt there was still maybe some imposter syndrome, but having felt like his peer sort of through the process of it, it felt more like I had been, and not only him, I mean, the rest of the cast too, but certainly with him, it was like, I think it granted me the permission. I'm a Midwestern kid. Like, we just a lot of times dream very small in the Midwest, and we
Yeah.
don't think that those things are like allowed. But I think that it was kind of like, oh wait, I can do this. I like this could be a career for me, and I could do this often, and maybe be good at it too at some point. And so that did sort of happen, but it took me a while to get there. And there still is plenty of self doubt and self loathing mixed in there all the time, but working to get that out.
Tell me what you think the difference is between content that resonates with audiences and content that doesn't. Like, do you know as you're making it what you think? Do you know at that moment, or is it not until kind of you're getting into the editing of it where you're kind of like, oh, this is going to be great, or what's that process look like?
Mm. Well, I have a marketing background, and I spent uh, the better part of 15 years doing marketing and advertising. And so I think that there's even on like a subconscious level, I think a lot about audience and how people will receive it. And in the film that I made with Kit, it's a very meta film. The viewer is very, very included in the creation and sort of like it's very relative and there's a lot of subjectivity in it. And so I was hyper aware of the desire to connect it with audiences, but whether or not that's going to stick, I just feel like so much of that happens retroactively. I think that
Mhm.
there's a lot of really great art that gets made, and sometimes it doesn't find its audience, and you're kind of like, how did that miss? Because I love it, and it just didn't find, it didn't find its footing. Like I think, yeah, I think it was Hook. It
Mhm.
has like a 25% Rotten Tomato score or something. The movie Hook, and
Mhm.
you're just like, what? How could that be? Like that was such a foundational film in my
Yeah.
childhood, where it was like I loved that movie, and the idea that like the vast majority of critics were like, this movie is terrible. So I think that a lot of times it is in hindsight when you're like, oh wow, that worked. I do think that sometimes though, while you're going along, you think, oh, that was like a magic moment.
Yeah.
That's going to translate. That will connect.
Yeah.
And you're just trying to string as many of those together as you can.
I mean, it's the same thing with my podcast. Like, I'll do an interview. I'm like, that was such an amazing interview. It is going to like blow up. And then like, it's just an average interview. I mean, it's not like nobody listened to it, and then other times there's this, I'm not going to say the person's name, but there was this one artist that I interviewed and I thought I'm not even going to say if it's a man or a woman. I thought they were okay. It wasn't like I wasn't like thrilled with it because I thought they were like a little too green and just like, and the
Mm.
episode like blew up and it had so many people that commented and liked
Interesting.
it. I'm just like, why did this happen? So it's just like it's unpredictable
How,
sometimes.
how how much of it do you think is just like the algorithm these days? Like, is there any real connection with the audience, or is it just the algorithm tells you what's going to connect, and we all kind of agree to it or something?
Well, I think on YouTube, it's definitely the algorithm because I can't figure out my
Yeah.
YouTube. So I'll put a video up. Sometimes it will get 10,000 views for an episode. Sometimes it will get 2,000 and sometimes it will get 85,000. So it just really, really,
Mm.
and I don't know, like I'm not doing anything different with those episodes, and sometimes the ones that I just don't think should get 50,000, and I'm just like, okay. So I
Mm.
think that's all algorithm. I think that podcast, the listening piece of it, I don't think that's algorithm. I think people subscribe to it and they get it, and I got to just get them to
Yeah.
subscribe. I think that's what it is. I think movies also. I
Well,
think it just go ahead.
you can say you're kind of unique in that sense, though, or maybe you're not unique in that sense because it feels like, I mean, literally, even in the name of your podcast, it's not like you put yourself into some tiny little box. Like
Yeah,
a lot of podcasts, it's like so niche that it's like,
yeah.
I'm only going to talk about this topic and only people that like that, this is the wood carpentry chair furniture podcast. And it's like, okay, well, you'll find your audience of those people, but you've taken a more broad, stroke, and it works for you though, which I think is really interesting.
And we'll be right back. Okay, and now back to the show. When I started this, I wanted to just talk to people that I thought were interesting, and I didn't have a topic I wanted to focus on. And so sometimes I talk to psychic mediums, sometimes I talk to filmmakers and authors, and I do talk to people that do near death experiences and people in cults. I just like
Mm.
it's whatever I find interesting is what I kind of bring people on, and it's when I find it interesting, I feel like there's got to be other people out there that find it. So it's working so far.
Mm.
So I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So I think people are going to find you incredibly interesting. That's why you're here. So
I hope. It's interesting too because I just I feel like there's something happening where the more personal it is, it seems to have this kind of, like you said, it's interesting to you, and you are a human, and therefore there might be other humans who also find it interesting. And that's just like a fascinating idea to me because the film that I made with Kit is extremely personal. At times I thought maybe too personal. But even in like the premiere that we've done recently, having people like coming up to me afterwards in tears, talking about how like related they felt to it was just like a very surreal experience because it's like, no, I cried making this movie. Like,
yeah,
but it's just like it's so bizarre to find that other people are having such a similar experience to me. And I feel like in the future, the niche stuff of just like my very subjective relative human experience, there are a cohort of people who are having a very similar one,
yeah,
and we're finding each other.
yeah, yeah. I love that actually explanation because it's yeah. I think you just have to kind of go with like your gut feeling in a way, and if you love it, other
Mm.
people are going to love it. There's going to be people out there that are just like you. Can you tell
Mm.
me how you um so what's your did you help write this or you just made the film? Like what's your whole role with when you're doing a movie?
Yeah. In this case, I wrote, directed, and executive produced the film. And on the last one, I wrote, directed, executive produced, uh, as a post production supervisor. I wore a lot more hats. So
Yeah.
this time I had a bigger team. We had a little bit more money to work with. And so I was able to take off some of the hats. But in general, I write, direct, and executive produce.
Wow, you must doesn't that like feel so amazing whenever you're wrap on a film like that though that you this is something you wrote that world is going to see. I mean that must be incredibly satisfying.
I will be totally honest with you, Zach. I wanted it to be more satisfying than it was. I think that,
Really? Tell me why. I need to know why.
yeah, I just, I think that we always are putting something out in front of us as like, that's going to be the thing that fixes us, that heals us in some way. And like, when you do it and then it doesn't, you're kind of like, oh, well, okay, that wasn't it. And honestly, it wasn't the problem. The problem is mine. It's just that like I think I have this kind of insatiable need to feel like I could do better, to feel like that it might be misunderstood or whatever. And it does, I will say that there is a major, it's very gratifying to have a big project behind you. That is true. But it doesn't quite feel like a sense of achievement or pride for me. It's just I can't quite articulate it. I think part of it too is just that I really am like an artist's artist. I think that like I make art for other people. And so it doesn't feel gratifying to me. It feels like I want it to be gratifying for somebody else. And so until that has happened, then it doesn't mean anything to me.
Okay, so I have to stop you because I have to say, you just told me a few minutes ago that you had people coming up to you crying after watching the movie. This is one film festival that you had. Think about, I want you to just reflect on this for a moment, or even after we're done with this interview. And I want you to think about how you are going to touch so many people, even if you get 15 people that watch this movie cry or feel something from this movie, that's 15 human lives that you've touched. And you've got to like be
Yeah.
so you should really take that in and like think about how amazing that is, cuz you had a couple people just at a film festival that came up to you and that were crying and that were you touched emotionally. That's amazing. I mean, you really should like
Yeah.
take that in. I feel like you're never going to be satisfied though. I feel like you always want to do better, better, better. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
Maybe like you said, you're that type of artist.
I think I really I appreciate you saying that because I do kind of have like my own sort of like moral creed of like why I do this and like why it's worth it. And it is like I came from like a really kind of conservative Christian home and I grew up with like this very strong image of like Jesus going after the one. And I still feel that way. Like I feel that way in my art that it's like it really is about trying to go and just maybe offer a little bit of healing to one person because that has happened with me in art when I have consumed certain art. It's like changed me
Yeah.
fundamentally.
Give me an example.
Oh, I have the craziest example. I've like really only shared this mostly with like really close friends, but we're quickly becoming that, so I'll share it.
Yes.
So several years ago, before I made One of Us with Kit, I I lost my mom, and 9 months later, I lost my son, and so I was in like a really bad way. Well, continued to be, but better than then. And the only thing that I could do was consume art. Like I tried everything, like meditating, I tried exercising, I tried religion, I tried so many things that I just kind of always felt hollow still. But there was art that I could consume that would like really mean something to me. And one day I watched this film called My Dinner with Andre, and it's a bit of an esoteric movie in that it's just two guys sitting at a table talking.
Uh-huh.
It was made in the 70s. It feels very much like a podcast. And you would say, like, oh, what could be interesting about that? Well, like in a very meta way, like, that's what's interesting about it is it's just two people having a real human conversation. But it's an hour and 45 minutes long. And it's a very challenging film for a lot of people. And I was just like, that hit me to the core in a way that no art has prior to that or since. And so I immediately was like, what happened to this lead actor? His name's André Gregory. And if I'm talking too long, let me know. Feel free
No,
to
I
interrupt
love
me
it.
and
This is
we'll go
exactly
on
what I
about
want.
this.
This is perfect. I love this. I'm writing
Okay.
the movie name down actually because I'm going to watch it.
Okay, yeah. I'd be curious for your thoughts. So I want to know what happened to the lead actor, Andre Gregory, because it's him and Wallace Shawn, who's the guy you would recognize him from like Princess Bride. He's the
Mhm.
inconceivable guy. But it's this two-hander basically film. And the day that I finished watching that film, there was an article, I think it was in the New York Times, saying, later in life, because it's now been almost 40 years to the day since the film was released. 40 years on, he's an aging man. He lives in New York and he's a painter. And he was opening an exhibit in a small gallery in New York. And I go and look at the gallery to see what kind of stuff is he painting because he's a genius and he wrote this incredible film and starred in this incredible film. And he's painting all of these gorgeous watercolors. And one of them is of a cactus and it's called Prickly Things. And his sort of like line, like the artist statement about it was even in the most dire of circumstances, there is still beauty to be found effectively. And the cactus is this great representation of it to him because it's prickly, but
Yeah.
it's beautiful too. And so I reached out to the gallery and I asked if I could buy it. and it was surprisingly like affordable. And I told him like the situation a little bit. I said, I several months ago I lost my son. He died in my arms, and I have not felt whole since then. And I just had this little moment of watching this film and feeling like really filled. And I would love to buy this painting because I think that it's beautiful and it captures exactly how I feel about things. And a week went by, and they emailed back and said, "We'd love to sell it to you when the exhibit's closed at the end of October. We'll package it up, and we'd love to send it to you for free," which was really sweet of them. And then about a week after that, I actually got a letter or an email from Andre,
Wow.
from the actor. And this was what was so remarkable, Zach, is he said, for 40 years, I've wondered why I made that film. And I feel like I finally know why I did it. And he was thanking me for giving his art meaning when he didn't feel like he had it. And it was just this transcendental moment for me where I was getting meaning 40 years on. There was something like, it was almost like time travel, where it was like he and I were lending each other meaning across time. And it was just, I knew in that moment that I would love nothing more than to be somebody's André Gregory someday. That in 40 years from now, if I might get an email saying that I had a profound impact on somebody's life, then I feel like that's when I could maybe hang up my cleats and say, okay, I did a good job.
Whenever I just told you before, I know when an episode's going to be amazing. This one's going to be amazing. That story you just told is going to resonate with so many people. Like that is, I very rarely get emotional. I've only got emotional one time, and I almost got a little emotional then because like I got chills
Mm,
from that. I did feel, yeah, that is an amazing story, and it's going to resonate with so many people. So thank you for sharing that because,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, that just, it's like the whole circle came together whenever you said that. Like, I get it.
Mm, yeah.
It's,
I appreciate that. I haven't shared that story frequently before because I don't know like what it is. I don't know if it's like sacred or something, but I feel like it at least to me was this kind of manifestation of just the power of humanity
mhm.
to heal each other. I think that we cannot heal ourselves is one of the things that I've learned is that the reason why we are such social creatures is because we cannot heal ourselves. We can heal other people,
Mhm.
but it will require somebody else to come along and help to heal us. And I think that was one of the takeaways for me is that, and it can be something, a piece of art made 40 years ago. There's one other kind of anecdote to that story, actually. Several months later, I was going to New York for work, and I emailed Andre and I said, I'd love to meet you. And again, there's this weird kind of meta thing happening in my world where I then went and had lunch with Andre in New York, and we sat for an hour and a half or 2 hours and just talked. And when you watch the film, like you're going to be like, this is very, very strange because that is what the film is. It's these two guys connecting over a long period of time of not, and they're just talking. Um, I don't know what to make of it, to be honest with you, Zach. It still baffles me a little bit.
It's that is just so incredible, and it's like everything that just happened was meant to be. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know if you believe in past lives and all that stuff, but you guys had to have been connected if you do believe in that, because I actually do. I think there was a connection there
Mm.
somehow, and that's he was part of your past life. He'll probably be, if you believe in reincarnation, he'll be part of your future life somehow. Like all that was meant to happen. Like that is so incredible. Like you watch, I just like all the coincidences that are there. It's just
Yeah.
is insane.
I read a lot of Carl Jung, and he has this thing about synchronicity. Do you ever have you ever read or talked about synchronicity with anybody?
Yeah, a little bit. I had a guest that we talked about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And basically, his definition of synchronicity is that it's a meaningful coincidence, and coincidences happen. he's a scientist, and
Yeah.
he acknowledges that there are things that are just coincidence. It's just the probability of large numbers, and you arrive at something that happens by happenstance. But what do we do with the coincidences that happen in everybody's life? That everybody has some kind of experience like this. They're few, but they happen, that are completely life changing, that are so incredibly meaningful that it feels like to put it in the same category as coincidence would be, it would cheapen what has happened there, because there's plenty of coincidences that don't mean anything. But it's when it means something that is life changing. What do we do with that? And that's what he called a synchronicity, and that's what it was for me. Is I still don't know, and I think that, like you said, there's probably something to what you're saying about reincarnation and past lives and things, but it was meaningful regardless.
And we'll be right back. Okay, and now back to the show. When you were having the conversation with him, though, did he kind of acknowledge all this as well? Like how, I mean, did you talk to him? I mean, you obviously told him about your son and stuff. So did he kind of like understand like the impact that he had, and that, I mean, obviously you understood the impact that you had on him because he told you, but did you kind of tell him the same, like kind of go through that? And I mean, I would have loved to have seen that lunch or been a fly on the wall to hear what you two were talking about and how you connected. I mean, did it almost feel like you were talking to an old friend at some point?
Yes, it definitely felt like talking to an old friend. I think at first he was probably a little bit wary of, just like, I don't know who this guy is, other than like this story he's told me. And this is all happening, not too long after COVID. And so, like, we were done with social distancing, but there was still a little bit of like awkwardness of being
Yeah.
around people for a moment. And in the beginning, there was like a brief moment of kind of like, this is kind of weird. Like, who are we talking to?
Yeah.
But then, like you said, after a moment or two, it was literally just like old friends. And we talked about all kinds of things that you would never talk about with somebody that you only officially met 2 minutes ago. I mean, we like launched straight into death and meaning and religion and philosophy and art. And just, well, I mean, it's maybe something a little bit like this conversation where you're kind of like, wow, well, we got into this really fast. And I don't know that he could ever appreciate what he did for me, to be honest. But I hope that he knows that it, yeah, changed my life.
And it sounds like you did that the same for him. Like he took 40 years for him to kind of, I mean, you did the same for him.
Yeah, I was worried for a moment that I was like, maybe this is just something that he says. Maybe, like, it's hard to take into, I can imagine that it would be hard to respond to somebody who says, I love your painting so much and your film so much. My son just died and it's giving me meaning. I like, what are the words you say to that? So for a while I was like, maybe he just kind of like said that just to like make me feel good or
I don't think
whatever. But
so.
then he did an article in I think it was the LA Times. I had it saved somewhere months later, and they were asking him. He did an interview with them, and they were asking him kind of how he was doing and what was happening later in life, because he was a really successful, primarily stage director, but he had done acting and film directing as well. But he said in that article in the LA Times, he said, later on, somebody had asked him kind of like, why do you do this? Why were you an artist? And he's like, I think it's because of the young man that I spoke with recently whose son died and found meaning in what I did. So it didn't feel anymore that it was like, oh, he was just saying that to me, because I don't think that he ever knew I'd read the article. But to me, it was the very clear indicator that it's like, that is about as high and holy of a cause to make and create and make art in this world, and it's one that I've adopted wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely impacted his whole life by what
Mm.
you said to him and meeting with him. And he probably wouldn't have met with you if there were, I mean, I'm sure he was a little, like you said, cautious because of COVID and all that other stuff. But it's like like you said, you
Yeah.
sit down, you started talking about things that you would not talk to somebody probably that you just met ever. So the, I think that's so amazing. That whole story is just a movie there almost.
I know, yeah. I wonder if later in life I might not turn it into a movie I've thought I need to write it. I have it written down and like my whole experience with it. Because trust me, when you go see this movie, Zach, I think that the whole story is going to take on an even stranger kind of lens because the whole movie is very meta. It's very much it's I can't quite explain it, but when you see it, you will be like, this is really bizarre. The sequence of events,
Yeah.
very uncanny.
What is your take on kind of religion and death now? Because you said you grew up in the Midwest, you're religious. I grew up until I was, I mean, my grandfather was super religious and forced it on all of us. And when I got older, I abandoned it all that personally. But what is your take on that now?
Um, I have a very absurdist view on life and death. I read a lot of Camus and a lot of Kierkegaard and Nietzsche. I think that my take on it is well, there was a book that I read that helped me to articulate it. It's called The Worm at the Core of the Apple. And it
Okay.
was these scientists who were studying what they call terror management theory. And basically, what it is that humans are the only species that have not only the survival instinct that all other creatures have, but also the acute awareness that it's futile, that no matter how hard we try, we're going to die.
Hmm.
And no other animals suffer from that. What they call the death anxiety of just the assurance that one day we're all going to die, and that's terrifying. It's really hard to grapple with. But in our attempts to stave off that anxiety, we do all sorts of things to try to sleep better at night. We make religions, we make businesses, we make love, we do all these things to try to grant ourselves some sort of shield, even if it's a metaphorical sort of eternal life. That, well, if I'm a great artist, then they'll still talk about me in 200 years, and so I will be granted immortality via my art or via my offspring or via something. I think that religion probably falls somewhere into that vein, but I am still a religious participant and not necessarily. I mean, we're getting right. If we're just ripping me wide open, not necessarily because I believe in like the literalness of it, but because I really believe in the utility of it. I see how it can also have really, really negative implications, and I'm very aware of those.
Hmm.
But there is something beautiful about people coming together just for each other, just to be there, even if it comes. Well, I think all social relationships have some baggage of some kind, and our goal in humanity should be to minimize the amount of baggage and maximize the amount of utility. But I still go to church sometimes because I like caring for other people, and it's nice when others care for me. And I don't think that I'm not being a missionary about this. I don't think everybody needs to go and be religious
Yeah.
again. But I do think that we do need to put other people higher on our list of priorities. And religion is very good at that, sometimes too good and sometimes dogmatically dangerous.
Yeah.
But some balance where we still are not the center of our own universe all the time is good for mankind. And so I participate very complexly.
Yeah.
I would be a heretic for sure. I would be burned at the stake in many eras in history. So I feel
Yeah.
fortunate I can live in one where I can say that and
Yeah.
maybe face some some social pressure, but no physical pressure.
Yeah. I'd be on the stake next to you, so don't worry. So we would be there
We'll go
together.
down together. Yeah.
Exactly. Um, I mean, yeah, I think you have several movies that we just talked about inside you still that you can create in the future very easily.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my questions I was going to ask you, where would you like to be in 10 or 15 years from now? But like, what would you like to be doing? I really hope that you stay in making movies because just the ideas that you have and just the way that you express yourself is so unique and just I don't I think I don't say this to a lot of people, but you are in the 36 minutes we've been talking, you're so interesting, and I think that that's what a good filmmaker and a good storyteller is, and so I hope you continue doing this, and this is something you want to continue doing.
Well, it's really nice of you, first of all, and I I need to now. Like I feel uh I think that I have replaced a lot of my sense of religious duty with artistic duty. That I feel like it comes with less baggage, but it still has the ability to touch somebody's heart and maybe change their life. And so for me, like I will definitely do this until I die. And it's also one of the few things that genuinely brings me joy. I have a wife and son. They bring me a lot of joy. And then, yeah, I have art and film and storytelling, and that brings me a lot of joy. But as we've discussed, it really only brings me joy if it's serving some utility for other people to find meaning or understanding. Because otherwise, it's just kind of like if it's just for me, uh, that almost makes me more depressed.
Yeah.
So it has to reach other people.
Who would you want to work with in the future? Do you have a guess? Like, do you have a list of people like I would love to work with this person? And because I've made my top 20 list of people I would love to interview one day. Some
Mm.
are really out of reach, and you never know, and others I have got already. But I have my number one. So Madonna, if you're listening to this
Yeah, I was gonna say,
podcast,
yeah. Who I want to hear some of your list.
mine are ridiculous though. Some of them are so bad. Like I have an advisor that helps me with my podcast, and he made me do this. And I came back with the
Right.
first list of 20 people that I wanted to interview. He goes, this list is bullshit. Like this is you're not telling me who you really want to interview." I'm like, "No, this is it." And he goes, "No, I want you to come back and I want you to be embarrassed to tell me who you really want to interview."
Mm.
So I went back the next week we met and I told him my embarrassing list. And it was, you know, Madonna was the top of the list. And it was so hard to say because it's so embarrassing to say like who you really want to do. And but then I had other people that I had on the list. So there's a woman named Bridget Everett who's actually did a HBO Max show called Everybody's Everywhere or Somewhere or something. She Jeff Hiller won an Emmy from it, who was in the movie. I'm actually seeing her perform in Boston on Friday. I've seen her in Joe's Pub perform. She's a cabaret singer. She's an actress. She's just so talented. I love her so much. She's probably number 3 on my list. And I'm going to try to get a picture with her afterwards and try to
Yeah.
because I've reached out to her publicist, not happening. She's not doing interviews. But if I could get her on my show, she's like one of my dream guests who is attainable. But
She's attainable. You can get her. You're gonna get her.
I think I will. And I see, I knew her also before she was really famous because I would go to this place in New York called Below 54 and they did like these, it was music and she did a cabaret act and she had other artists there. And it was me and like 15 other people in the audience on a Tuesday night in New York. So,
Wow.
and I stayed afterwards. I didn't know I just knew I loved her performance. And like I was hanging out with her. I have selfies with her at the time and stuff. And I became friends with her on Facebook before she became
Wow.
too famous. But now, she's on HBO Max. And so she's best friends with Amy Schumer too. That's the other thing. And so she became famous, but she didn't let it go to her head. Like I've seen her on Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel and all that, but she still seems like who she is genuinely. And
Yeah.
she's from Kansas originally, got Midwestern values, does body comedy, singing, talks about her tits and her songs and stuff. They're halfway hanging out because they're huge and stuff. And I just love everything about her. So she's on my list. But yeah, I have a list of 20 people. I started going through and DMing them. A couple people, maybe 2 people, kind of. I seen they looked at the DM, but then they didn't respond. And I don't know. You just keep trying.
Yeah. I think that, first of all, that's a really smart thing to do. I should probably go and make my list.
You should.
And I feel like I just feel like you're gonna get some of these. I really do. Like I feel like you're not even what you're. If number three on your list, like within the next 2 to 3 years, you're gonna be interviewing her for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll interview her before then.
Good,
Because there was
good.
there was there was a guy that he's best friends with Andy Cohen. He does a radio show with Andy Cohen. His name is John Hill, and I wanted to get him, and I got him. And he was like so kind and so like, and I forgot I was on a podcast. I actually have done this with you too. I forgot we were on a podcast. I thought we were just talking. So that's when I know it's a good interview. But I forgot I was on a podcast with him. We were just talking, and because he was so down to earth and so genuine throughout the interview, and I just and then whenever I post things on Instagram now, he'll like it and stuff. I'm just like, I can't believe John Hill, who knows Andy Cohen, is like it's just like I have imposter syndrome too sometimes. So
Yeah,
that's and it's hard. I'm trying to get past it.
yeah,
Because I'm like, how are 40,000 people listening to this show? Like, I don't understand. Like, how did that happen? Like, it's just to me, like, why do people care what I'm saying? And I keep
yeah.
saying it's the guest, but people keep saying, well, it's the guest that you bring on and how you're talking with them. It's the whole thing. So
I have a theory. I think it's I think that we live in a very low trust society right now.
yeah,
And I think that you are real to the bone. I think that you're just a real person. And it's refreshing to I mean, you cracked me open. I'm sharing stuff that I haven't even shared some of these things with my own family because I'm just like
yeah,
I can talk with you. And I think that people are so starved for authentic connection. I think that we've just I think we feel very isolated, even in a room of people, because it feels like we can't be authentic. And I think social media has had a huge
yeah,
influence on that. There's a lot of posturing, but you're just real, and so you might bring on good guests that you get them to open up because I I mean you're just a real person. I feel like I can
yeah.
just talk to you.
Thanks. I think I appreciate that. I mean, I don't want to have a bunch of questions and I get the question and mark it off and stuff. I
Yeah,
look about who people are. I wrote 3 bullet points about you, and then I knew we would just have a conversation. That's kind of how I do it. So, um,
great.
we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Okay, now back to the show. Do you have one person you can tell me, like, who would be the one person that you'd want to work with?
Yeah, I'm gonna give you two. One
Okay,
of them, because they're from different kind of camps. One of them, he's a huge podcaster. His name is Alex O'Connor.
okay,
He does a podcast called Within Reason. It's a philosophy podcast. And I think that he is one of the wisest people. He's like really young. He's like 20, 24 or something, 25. And he is already just like, he studied at Oxford. He's an atheist, but he is the most balanced, nuanced, complex views, and he is a really good interviewer. He brings on great guests, and he's also just real to the bone. And so he is somebody that I would love to collaborate with or talk to someday. And then on the film side, I adore Brendan Gleeson.
okay.
I just think that he is a remarkable actor. From what I've heard, he's also extremely down to earth and he's just good people. And so it's the combination of those two things. Those are like my favorite actors to work with. High talent, but maybe even higher human quality. That's just like my dream kind of person to work with. But maybe I need to dream bigger. I don't know.
Um, I think those are good dreams, actually, but I do think that you could probably dream bigger. I think that yeah, you could go bigger.
Maybe I need to do this. I need to do this, Zach. I need to make my list. I've never done
Make
it. I'm not. Yeah, I need to
I
do
didn't
that.
do it either until my advisor told me to, and then I have my top 20. I have my top 20 of C-level. Not
Ooh,
even it's not just celebrities. It's just people that I find interesting in other podcasts. That
yeah,
I've listened to, or people that I've seen interviews or I read about or something. So it's not. I,
yeah,
I mean, Madonna's, yes, that's just somebody that I've
yeah.
just always appreciated and admired my entire life. So And I think it would be incredibly hard to interview her because I think I never get starstruck at all,
Yeah. No.
but I think she would be so intimidating. It would be a tough interview for me, but God, I would love it. I want to go to her house and interview her, and then we like have lunch afterwards, and maybe she's like, "Stay the night," and like let's just watch movies in my bed, and like that's what I'm hoping. So
Wow. You, I think that this is, I don't know. I got a good feeling about it. I feel like someday this could happen.
I hope so. What about Andre? Would you ever want him to be in a movie with that you were working on?
No, I think that I like the purity of it. I think
Okay,
that I'm happy with it being what it was. I don't know, maybe that's like male compartmentalization brain or something. I don't
yeah,
know, but it just feels like that's nice. That fits right there, and that
yeah.
is a good spot.
Is there anything that surprised you about Kit Connor whenever you were working with him that you were just like you didn't expect that?
Yeah, uh, this is insane. When we cast Kit, it was a week and a half before we filmed, and the film is very dialogue heavy, and it's written in free verse. So
Mhm.
everything is, it's almost like pseudo kind of faux Shakespearean, very performative language by design. And he stepped into this role where he's basically in every single scene and he's basically talking the entire movie.
Yeah.
He, I don't recall him missing a line.
Wow.
I don't know how he did it. I was just telling people at a screener, a private screener the other night, it was like a superhuman, it was like witnessing a miracle. I don't know how he did it. He would go and he would memorize the next 5 pages of material the night before, and he would come and he wouldn't miss a line. And that's just like, it's not normal, especially not normal for a script like this. So that was one thing, is that he is insanely gifted. It's not just like he's one of those guys that gets, yes, he's like incredibly handsome and charismatic and all those things. And there's a lot of those that kind of crawl through the ranks
Mhm.
on the merit of being beautiful. He is not that, or he's also that, let's say.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, he is also just incredibly talented in a way that I'm like, I don't know how you did that. He's also a lot taller than you might think.
How tall is he?
He's over 6 feet.
Oh, I did
I'm
not. I thought he was like 5'8".
No. He's 6 foot, 6'1". I'm 6'2", and he's not a small guy.
Wow,
Um,
that surprised me actually because he looks so short
yeah,
on
you
TV.
watch Heartstoppers, and he looks like, I think
Yeah.
he just looks small and whatever. He's not. And then obviously he's lifted a lot for a number of roles and stuff, and so like he's big. Like he's a big guy, and is also just incredibly. He is also real people. He is
Yeah.
just like, he has no pretentiousness about him, just humble as can be. He's from like a small kind of borough of London, and he's just a remarkable person. Really calm, really just like even keeled, steady
Yeah.
guy. I don't think that there's a person who, if they met him, that they couldn't like Kit. I
Yeah.
think that he's just one of those types of people that you're just like, that's a great person,
I
and
love it
he
that he's
deserves all
not.
the success.
I love it that the fame didn't go to his head because um, there's a couple of people that just made it really big, and one of them, I see them how they're acting now with like
Yeah.
paparazzi and stuff, and I think that the fame has gone to their head the way that they're acting now, and it makes me kind of sad.
I don't think that that will ever happen with Kit, because I think that he will hide himself before that starts to happen. Like
Yeah.
he would sooner disappear and like act in one movie every couple of years, and you're like, where did that guy go? Than he would ever start to let that go. I would be shocked if he ever went that way, from what I
Well,
know about him.
he's been there long enough though. If that was going to happen, I think it would have happened already too, because he's famous enough.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he's so young that it's like, my brain like wasn't fully formed at his age,
Yeah.
and so for him to be behaving the way that he is, as young as he is, I'm like, okay, well, it's in 10 years from now, you're not going to be any more susceptible to giving into the ego
Yeah.
than he is today. So I think that he is like, yeah, he's a sure bet if you're gambling on what actor is going to be around for a long time and is going to have just like a really prolific career of incredible pieces of work, I and I feel like I can say this because it was no genius on my part or anything that got him. We got really lucky to get him. And so I feel like I can comfortably say, like, almost as a fly on the wall in the room with him, just being very fortunate to work with him, that like he's gonna go really, really far and he deserves every little bit of success.
Awesome. I can't wait to see the movie. So I can't, like, it sounds amazing. I can't wait to see it. Only thing I ask before we end the conversation is, whenever you are nominated for your first Oscar, I just ask that you come back on my show. That's all I ask.
Zach, I'll come back on your show every week. I love talking with you. You know,
Oh,
this is not even this has been one of the most fulfilling conversations I've had in years. I mean, I appreciate you just being real with me and just being willing to also ask me questions that I don't know, like you asked things that are when was the last time somebody asked me, like, how are you doing religiously? What is your like religious view these
yeah.
days? Like even my own closest friends don't ask me. So I just, you know what I mean? I appreciate it. And anytime, I would love to talk with you.
Well, great. You were so amazing. You're in my top 3 guests at this point, and I've done over 200 interviews. And so I appreciate you coming on. I don't know. I didn't expect to love you this much. I don't know. Like, I mean, we only talked over email and stuff, but yeah, you were an amazing guest, and I really, really appreciate you coming on. And I look forward to having you back on in the future. So
Great. Thank you, Zach. I'd love to come back.
I will put in a bunch of ways to learn more about my guests today, and just check them out. And yeah, thanks for coming on. And if this episode resonated with you, it's going to resonate with your friends. So share it with them and leave us a comment. Tell us what you think. Thanks again for being on.
Thank you.